How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. Real quick, just want to touch on the poll that I did talking about who got the best buff, Peacekeeper or Nobushi. So real quick, I want to go over my opinion. I haven't looked at the poll quite yet, but I'm going to pull it up on my computer and I can tell you guys what exactly everyone voted. So we have 61% for PK and 39% for Nobushi with 202 votes casted. So real quick, I just want to... I'll talk about the changes if you don't know them at the very end of the video, so we won't be getting into that here. Real quick, I want to talk about how this affects the characters and who I think got the correct and strongest buff, which in this case, I do agree Peacekeeper's buffs are extremely good, but Nobushi shouldn't be scoffed at either. So, real quick, I do want to point out that the only thing at this point I think Peacekeeper is missing is maybe two things. One is the fact that she has essentially no range, right? Her dodge attacks are relatively slow, and for the most part are pretty easy to parry. Her forward attack isn't like, you can't just run up and then light. It just, there's no real mix-up. If you're doing a dodge attack, you're doing a dodge attack. Additionally, her dodge attacks, if you miss them, she's very punishable. You can go ahead and heavy attack her. She's very, very slow when it comes to her dodge attacks, which is strange for most of the assassins in the game. If you look at most of the assassins, they recover relatively quick, or they're a little bit faster on the... I mean, Shaman is super fast on hers. Berserker's pretty quick on his. Orochi's is slow but undodgeable. You can dodge PKs and then punish with a heavy, or you can parry it and punish with a light. But that all depends on, as soon as she starts moving, if you dodged and, proper timings. So, real quick, we're going to talk about why I think PK obviously got an amazing buff, and that is, of course, due to the fact that she got the bleed. Now, on the bleed, as we all know at this point, she has the unblockables, and I think she just needed it. She just needed that. Of course, she can get bleed through a number of different ways and so on and so forth, but I think her having a good point for bleed is extremely good. Now, and we can't forget, she has a soft feint into a top light that does bleed, right? So let's say you just put your guard and top and you want to dodge, get away from the potential unblockable that's going to hit the side of you, right? Well, you can't do that because you can also soft feint into guard break, which is extremely strong in itself. Now, the only places I think PK is falling short, which, to be fair, she needs some weaknesses. I think every character should have weaknesses. So when you have characters like Griffin who have an amazing kit, but their only weakness is if you dodge the kick, that's a little overtune. Some characters just need a weakness. I think every character in every game or every something should have a weakness. That's just how fighting games work. And For Honor shouldn't be held to a different standard than that. Everyone should have a weakness. Now, PK's weakness is, of course, her range. Obviously, her range is just piss poor, allowing people to hit her from quite a distance. Once you factor in the bleed, her damage technically isn't low. It's just hard sometimes to get finishers, which is much easier now that you have this. So you can either let it fly, of course, or you can go for the guard break and then get the 15 and so on and so forth. Her damage is pretty good when you knock people out of stamina. The only other thing that PK does have some problems with, depending on the character, of course, is she doesn't have any big hitbox style moves other than the zone, and the cost for doing this and feinting is a lot of stamina, and it only will do 11 damage. So as far as people dodging in your face go, of course guard break's always an option, but she doesn't have any undodgeable moves, and she doesn't have like massive hitbox style moves. Like Kensei's zone hits far and hits around him. Warden takes a giant step forward, hits completely around him. It's extremely strong and good. So the only areas I think, if you're trying to beat a PK at this point, Keep your distance, stay at a good distance away from her. Basically, by staying at a distance, the only thing that she can threaten you with is a dodge attack, which is just stupid. You'll get parried. And in some cases, if you're facing a ward, you're going to get crushed and countered. I mean, what do you get? And you could try dodging forward and then going for something, but it's just too risky in a realistic setting. So PK, of course, is very dangerous when she gets up close, but keeping her at about this distance, she's weak. So PK, I think, was the one that was in most need of a buff, and I do think her buff definitely helps her. And I don't think that she necessarily needs any more buffs. We'll have to wait and see if she ends up still being relatively weak. From what I've seen so far, she's doing very well in most duels, and I've seen a lot of people relatively happy with it. I see a lot more PKs now. So as far as I'm concerned, Peacekeeper's, her buff is extremely good. The only downside to her is still the range. Berserker also has this problem with range, but unlike Peacekeeper, he has a ton of armor, so even if you try to come in and punish him, you're still going to end up getting hit by the armor. He also has undodgeables, which she does not have. He also has side unblockables, similar to her, but he does more damage. No bleed, but he does crazy damage. I think PK currently is in a good spot. We'll have to wait and see if she needs anything else, but I do agree with you guys. She needed it. And with the changes that were made, she's very good. Now let's go ahead and talk about Nobushi. Kick, sped up, guarantees some bleed damage. Gives you that poke, which increases your heavy attack damage. Speaking of heavy attack damage, we have the undodgeable heavy attacks, which are just great. And don't forget, Kick guarantees you a heavy attack at the wall. Now, all of her heavies, as you can see here, do the exact same amount of damage, so it doesn't matter which direction you're doing your heavies from. So just keep that in mind when you get a light parry or something. You don't have to go into top. You could do it from anywhere. Currently, what I am confusing a lot of people on is if you do a side heavy, most people know, hey, it's undodgeable, be careful. But if you go for a top heavy, some people are still trying to dodge this. It's not dodgeable. I've had times where a Berserker was behind me. I did this, and he ended up behind me, and Nobushi just flipped around and smacked him in the face. And he was bleeding at the time, so the damage he ended up eating was, 15, and then the 35. I mean, that's not a joke. That's some good damage. That's crazy. That's 50 damage that he ended up eating because he made one bad read. Her kick, obviously being sped up, allows for much more games, and obviously her cancels and all that kind of stuff. Her zone, you can cancel into a heavy, which of course is undodgeable. You can go into this and go into a kick. The kick mix-ups are crazy right now because you can do this. Oh, maybe I'll go for a kick. Or maybe I'll go for a heavy because I know you're going to dodge. I mean, just the sheer amount of things. And if they go for an attack, oh, there you go. It's undodgeable from hidden stance as well. It's extremely good. And hidden stance, of course, you can still kick from hidden stance. Obviously, her light attacks are still potentially dangerous if you don't know what you're doing with them, which I'll be honest with all of you, I don't use Nobushi very often. So as far as knowing exactly what I'm doing with her, I'm not going to say I'm an expert with her, but I will say her buff makes her much scarier to deal with. You can't, when you're in the distance that she wants you in, to kind of poke you away, and you're trying to get in, the last thing you want is to get clipped by an undodgeable move. There are a lot of characters that really use their mobility to get in on Nobushi, and now they can no longer do that. So I think Nobushi's buff is honestly very good, although obviously some people will say she didn't need the buff, but I think all in all it's a very, very decent buff. Now, for those of you who don't know the buffs, PK obviously got the unblockables. I mentioned her soft feint already. That's essentially what she got. Her bleed damage is good, and now you have unblockables on your finishing heavy so long as your opponent is bleeding. The deflect is also been changed around a little bit. I think it was maybe blockable or something like that before. The dodge heavy attack is now, or is the zone. The zone is a heavy attack. So if you parry the zone, it's no longer a light parry. Nobushi, as I mentioned, it's undodgeable, and the kick is a little bit faster. So I will agree with you guys. PK needed the buff, so I'm going to agree and say that her buff was definitely the best, but I don't think we should overlook Nobushi. I mean, the amount of YouTube videos I'm seeing of Nobushis right now is just absurd, and the light attack possibilities that you can do with this character is just kind of absurd when you really look at the way people are fighting with her. I mean, you can kind of just keep doing whatever it is you want, and people just have to eat it. But anyway, guys, I agree. PK probably has the better buff. Although I've been debating using Nobushi. She's actually just crazy now. It feels like a solid 50-50 type of character now. And you can, dodge and then go straight into this just for more mix-ups. You don't even have to let certain things go. Like, if you just dodge hidden stance, I mean, now they have to decide, is it going to be a light, and am I going to start bleeding? Is it going to be a heavy that's a little bit faster because hidden stance, or is it going to be a kick? Because if it's a kick at the wall, I'm still eating a heavy. So you have to be very careful with how you're playing against her now. I think both of these characters are definitely good right now. So in my opinion, over the buffs, I think both of these made the characters very, 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 very good right now. Let me know if you'd like to see more PK and Nobushi duels down below. I know a lot of content creators currently are doing Nobushi. I get them recommended constantly in my YouTube feed. That's what I do in my spare time from homework now, is just surfing YouTube in my whole 30-minute breaks. I haven't watched any of the Nobushi videos, but I assume everyone's using Nobushi because she got that reach and that damage. That is the other problem with PK, is her health isn't necessarily great, and you do have to get in. Nobushi's the opposite, where her health is decent, and she wants to stay away, and her damage is also very good. She's a very good keep-away character. Anyways, guys, I'm not going to keep you up any longer. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Let me know if you still agree, PK. I think PK, best buff for the sole fact she needed it. She needed that buff, and I'm very glad she finally got one. Although I don't think we should discredit Nobushi's buff. Nobushi is a force to be reckoned with as well right now. Anyway, guys, I'll see you guys later. Thank you all for watching. I'm a little bit behind on some of the videos, so I'll have to record some of those tomorrow. You guys won't end up seeing if I'm behind or anything. I just had a couple tests come up. So, see you guys later. I'm probably going to play some more Mortal Kombat Combat League. I'm going to try out some Shang soon or something like that. Tekken I haven't played in a week, I think. So I'll have to get on that. Otherwise, guys, see you in the next one. Thank you all for watching. Have a good day and stay safe.